But first, the Washington Post is reporting that President Trump personally dictated a misleading letter regarding Donald Trump Jr.'s meeting with a Russian lawyer during the 2016 campaign. According to the Post, on his flight back from the G20 summit, the president wrote that his son had, quote, primarily discussed a program about the adoption of Russian children, emphasizing, quote, it was not a campaign issue at the time. It was revealed days later that Donald Trump Jr. took the meeting with the Russian attorney after receiving an email promising damning information about Hillary Clinton that could help his father's campaign. What's unclear is if this reported personal intervention could put the president in legal jeopardy. CBSN political contributor and RealClearPolitics national political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns joins me now on the phone. So, Caitlin, what could be the implications of this?
Hi, Elaine. Thanks for having me. Well, the biggest implication so far is the question of Donald Trump's personal involvement of this. There had been reports that he knew about the statement, and this report indicates that he dictated the statement. And so this, of course, comes as there is already the Mueller investigation underway. Multiple questions coming out of the development of Donald Trump Jr.'s meeting. Of course, Jared Kushner, who was also in on that meeting, just testified last week to lawmakers on Capitol Hill. This raises a few legal questions for Donald Trump and, of course, keeps this Mueller probe in the news at a time where the Trump White House wanted to focus this week on a variety of different things, including a shakeup that they thought was moving in a positive direction.
Right. And on that note, Caitlin, so there's a new White House Chief of Staff, General John Kelly. Is this the kind of thing you think that would have taken place had there been a figure like a General Kelly within Donald Trump's inner circle?
Well, certainly General Kelly enjoys the support, the respect, and the confidence of Donald Trump, which is something that Reince Priebus, the former chief of staff, did not have. Having said that, though, there is a big question over the next few days or so about what kind of influence Kelly can have on Donald Trump himself. As chief of staff so far, he's shown that he does have influence over the staff. We saw today with the ouster of now former comms director Anthony Scaramucci that does signify the role that Kelly can play and the power that he wields in this White House. The question, of course, moving forward, though, is whether Kelly can do anything to impose discipline on the president. It's not clear whether Kelly would have intervened in this sort of case, although you would assume as chief of staff, who also serves as a counselor, he would do so. But again, I think it's important moving forward to identify ways in which Kelly has an influence on his staff and ways in which he can influence the president.
Caitlin, how much do you think this could be just another example of the president running his administration as he ran his family business?
This is a really big concern, and you're starting to hear a little bit of it from lawmakers, from Republican lawmakers, this idea that having family members so close to the White House, inside the White House inner circle, serving in key positions, opens up to these kinds of vulnerabilities. Of course, the problem with having some who have concerns about this, having Jared Kushner and Ivanka, the president's daughter, in these types of roles is that it is very difficult to fire them, to let them go. And often there is kind of a mentality, so to speak, to offer some kind of protection in some ways to those key advisors. And so there is a lot of concern, of course, before all this about having family members close to the decision-making process. This opens up to different kinds of vulnerabilities. It's important to note, however, that Donald Jr. was not part of the administration, although he did play a key role in the campaign. But Jared Kushner, who was also in those meetings, of course, is a top advisor to the president.
Yeah, it's an important point. Well, Caitlin, you mentioned Bob Mueller. What could this mean in terms of the investigation being led by special counsel Robert Mueller?
Well, it certainly opens up another avenue of questioning. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill, for example, have already talked to Jared Kushner. They want to hear from other players involved. And so this, of course, not only provides another opening, so to speak, but again, keeps this probe in the news. And it also reflects why the president is so, he does not like the Mueller probe. He knows how expansive it can be. He knows that it can go in any direction, really, and it is difficult to see where it can go. And that's why you've seen him over the past week or so really unleash his frustration at Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General. He kind of had blamed Sessions for recusing himself from the probe, which again led to eventually the appointment of special counsel Robert Mueller. So there's no question the president thinks this is a witch hunt. He has said so himself using those words. Those are his words. And there are lawmakers on Capitol Hill, however, who are charged with investigating this sort of thing and will continue to do so and are concerned about the president trying to shut this investigation down.
All right, we'll continue to watch it all. Caitlin Huey-Burns, thanks so much.
Thank you, Elaine.